I'm pretty well versed in extreme horror and regular horror and everything in between, and I've never heard of this book before. So, first of all, trigger warnings. It is pretty much all of them. Seriously, if I were to list them all, it would read like a prescription medication commercial. But you know what? I think that would be funny, so let's do that. This book may include violence, gore, sexually explicit material, animal abuse, child abuse, cannibalism, incestuous material, and death. Ask your doctor if Wake Up and Open Your Eyes is right for you. I'm Dia Ghoul, and welcome to my channel where we have spooky talks about spooky topics. And today we are going to be talking about what I would consider the most underrated extreme horror book ever. This book is called Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. And I found this book on Libby, and I did not know what I was getting into when I started this book. I wanted to go over just a couple of points before we go into the main point by point of the plot. And that's one of them is just to say I was unprepared would be an understatement. When I read the synopsis of this book, I expected some sort of thriller, maybe a little bit of horror elements, but I was not expecting so much gore, so much terrible, horrible stuff in there. Obviously, I love that stuff, but it's not what I was expecting. We will start off with a synopsis of this book. I made a nice short synopsis. They had a real long, detailed one on Libby, but I'll just go over this synopsis that I wrote myself. Noah has a strained relationship with his parents after recent growing political tension. Still, he is alarmed to receive a rambling voicemail from his mother, after which she cannot be reached. Worried, Noah takes the long drive to check on his parents. Now, that synopsis is simplifying it quite a bit, but we'll get into details as we go. So, as you can imagine, I did not expect what I was going into. I knew it involved some sort of brainwashing. They made that pretty clear in the synopsis I read, but that's all I knew going into it. And there is a lot of gore, grossness, sexually explicit material. That actually goes into the second point I would like to make. While I was reading this, I could not help but ask myself over and over and over again, is this fetish content? Seriously, is this fetish content? I would like to know. There are many instances of brainwashed, possessed, zombie-like, spicy, sexy times. There's also many instances of self-pleasure, for lack of a better term. In fact, there were so many examples of this that after I read it, I went back through and tried to keep track of how many instances of this I could find, and I might have missed some. Who knows? But let me take a look. I tallied 5 instances of self-pleasure, not normal people just doing their thing. This is people all crazy and possessed and brainwashed, just going at it. And it's real weird, dude. It's real weird. There were also 5 separate instances of what I referred to as zombie spicy times, because they're not traditional zombies, but they're very brainwashed, zombified type people, and there's also a lot of cannibalism involved in these scenes. And some of these scenes, at least 3 of them are orgies. Certain points, it makes sense with the horror of it all. There's one scene where the main character is assaulted by his mother while she is possessed and brainwashed, or whatever you want to call it. And I can understand why that was there, because that's horrifying. I can't think of anything more horrifying than that, actually. So I can see why that was there. But then, over and over and over again, we loop around to these really random, weird, cannibalistic zombie orgies, and I just can't help but wonder if the author was trying to say something here. You know? Is it just me? We'll go through the book, and then you can see for yourself. So, this book follows a family. There's Noah, who's our main character, and then there are his parents, and his brother, Asher, and his brother's family. So that's kind of what you need to know going in. The book begins with Noah receiving an alarming voicemail from his mother. And apparently this is not the first one, but it's just the scariest one he's received. It's saying all this crazy, rambly conspiracy stuff about December 20th. Like, okay, all this is going down on December 20th. Come here, bring your child, you'll be safe here. And he just thinks she's crazy. So he tries to call her, be like, Mom, what the fuck? He can't get a hold of her. So he calls his brother. He's like, hey, can you check on Mom and Dad, make sure they're fine? And his brother's like, sorry, busy. Don't got time for that. Fucking see ya, whatever. And he stops answering his phone too. So now, Noah's just kind of freaking out. He's worried for his parents' safety. And he takes the 6+ hour drive to go over there and check on them, leaving behind his wife and his young daughter. When he leaves, he promises his daughter Kelsey that he will be back in time for Christmas in a few days. So this whole thing takes place just leading up to Christmas time. And when Noah does arrive to his parents' residence, he finds his parents alive and unharmed, but not what anyone would consider well. They are not doing so good. They're both very sluggish, spacey, not too responsive, both very obsessive and rambly about the TV, specifically a news channel called Fox News. I'm sure you can tell what they are trying to parody there. So his parents are obsessively sitting there watching Fox News. They don't want him turning the TV off. Even if he does turn the TV off, they turn back on. All sorts of weird, crazy shit's going on. Their house is in shambles. They clearly haven't been eating well. Things just aren't doing good there. Of course, Noah is very concerned for his parents. While he's trying to get everything figured out and help his parents out and figure out what he can do for them, his mother, entranced with Fox News, begins to strip and subsequently pleasure herself. This would be the first instance of any weird, spicy stuff, and it really threw me off. Like, my God, was I thrown off by that? I did not see that coming at all. So, of course, Noah's freaking out. Like, Mom, stop. Mom, please. Because why wouldn't he freak out? Of course he's going to freak out. So Noah's freaking out, trying to get her to stop. She's just like, I don't know nothing except this news, this sexy news. So she just keeps going at it. And then the Fairchild parents, his parents, become just progressively more and more unresponsive, infantile, childlike. He is needing to physically feed them because he's worried about them not eating. And here they are just staring at the TV. That's all they care about is the TV and the Fox News. And the guy, the anchor man on Fox News, that's all they care about. And this anchor on Fox News is talking about the countdown, the wake-up call, the great reawakening. It's a big deal, the great reawakening. And he starts counting down from 10 to 0. And then when 0 hits, that is when shit hits the fan. When the countdown reaches 0, there is a instant and terrifying shift in his parents, and he was already terrified by what was going on. But now they are violent. They are telling him to wake up, to open his eyes. And then his parents begin to attack him. So in this brawl between Noah and his parents, he has no choice but to fight back, and he's caught off guard. He's not, measuring his strength. He's just doing what he can to survive. And he ends up killing his father with the TV remote, shoving it down his throat and killing him. And his mother doesn't die, but he shoves her in a closet, leaves her there, and she is bashing her head on the wall, hurting herself to try to get out. And he is freaking out, doesn't know what to do. As he's about to leave, he decides to change the channel on the TV from Fox News to some other news, CNN, I believe it was. He turns on CNN, and then he sees that it isn't just his parents going through this. That countdown caused this shift to happen all across the country, all over the place. People all over the place are snapping, becoming violent, attacking their families, and it has become such a mass-scale problem that nobody knows what to do. They're just covering it on the news. And of course Fox News isn't covering this at all, because so far it seems they are the catalyst for this whole thing. And as he's watching CNN, the anchorman Anderson Cooper, kind of gets into Noah's head and becomes the narrator from Noah's perspective. Like when we see the story from Noah's perspective here on out, we hear Anderson Cooper as our narrator. He speaks to us as Anderson Cooper. And it's really bizarre and strange. And to his horror, while he's watching this newscast, he sees his own brother, Asher, committing a horrendous crime at an elementary school. It says that they're taking out body bags too small to be adults. So I think that alone tells us what happened. And this is happening alongside other simultaneous tragedies, mass shootings all over at schools, stores, gyms, whatever, like all over the place. It's just like a mass scale, almost domestic terrorist attack. And after this is when he leaves his parents' home. And this is when the gore kind of ups the ante a little bit. He sees the chaos outside. Just as he's about to be attacked, a zombie orgy starts. And that's the first zombie orgy of the book. And it was very weird. And I was actually laughing. I was sitting there laughing because it was just so absurd. But, I get it. I guess I get it in the context of this book, but it's just all the times it happens. It is so many times, seriously. That was the entirety of part 1. Now we're on to part 2. There's 3 parts. And part 2 goes back. We flash back to the days leading up to December 20th. And we're looking at Asher's family. So this is Noah's brother. So we're looking at Noah's brother, as well as his wife and his 2 children. Now, over the course of about a month, 3 of the 4 family members also become obsessed and brainwashed with media of various sorts. Leading up to this, I thought it would be just Fox News, and I thought it would be a very one-dimensional political thing, but they did branch out into other things. Like the mom, Devin, she's obsessed with wellness influencers, like, the yoga-type ladies who drink vitamin smoothies, and she's into the homeopathic medicine and stuff like that. She's not trusting doctors, and she's just falling so deep into this rabbit hole, while simultaneously Asher is falling deep into the Fox News rabbit hole like his parents. Then on the other hand, you have their older son, Caleb, and he is suddenly just exploding in popularity on Twitter. I believe it was Twitter, a Twitter-like social media site. And people are sharing all his posts, being supportive of his, loneliness. And this is something he's never experienced before. He's a little bit scared, a little bit taken aback by it at first, but then he starts to really like it. He starts to really like that attention and support that he's receiving. And it gets to his head, just like the parents. Everything gets trippy and more fever dreamish as it goes. And you can tell they're not in their right minds anymore after so long. This leaves the youngest son, Marcus, being the sole family member unaffected by this weird media virus. And that's likely because he's a young boy. He doesn't have his own device yet. He's been, waiting for his parents to deem him old enough to have his own tablet, but he doesn't have it yet. He's the only one in the family with normal functioning. And he is left to fend for himself while his family descends into madness, leading up to the Great Reawakening on December 20th. On the day of the Great Reawakening, as we know, that's when shit hits the fan everywhere for everybody. Devin makes a weird fucking rambly post, puts it online, then she smashes her tablet and eats the glass. Soon after, she blends her own hand into a blender and makes a smoothie out of it, and then she consumes it. Recently before this, she was trying to do the same to her young son, Marcus. He got away. Luckily, he's still got some sanity left. But she went and drank her own hand smoothie. That was one of the more messed up parts in this book, I'll tell you. Asher then makes his way to his son's elementary school, where we kind of know what happens. So Fox News has been telling him about these conspiracies to do with crisis actors pretending to be children and posing school shootings for political purposes, of course. And Asher goes totally crazy, balls to the wall into this conspiracy, and he can't get it out of his head. So he comes to the school, and he's searching, he's looking around, trying to find the classroom that has the crisis actors in it. He's convinced that these actors are not children at all, They are just adults that look like children, and he is determined to find them. He finds what he believes to be a class full of crisis actors. He thinks the teacher, all of it, is just a ruse. So he busts in, kills the teacher, and it's off-screen, well, off-page, he kills the children. Meanwhile, Caleb, at school, nearly vaporizes himself with a bomb, killing everybody else in his classroom as well. He did this at the instruction of the people online that were giving him attention. There were a few select people who kept in touch with him and kind of groomed him to do certain things. And then, finally, Marcus. So, recently, before Devin decided to make her hand smoothie, she also decided that Marcus was finally old enough for his own tablet. When Marcus receives this tablet, he finally, the last one left, loses his mind, loses his ever-living shit. And this is how we see that. I don't know where on the screen it's going to go. But this is how that's portrayed to us. After all this time, it seems that poor little Marcus finally lost his sanity. Part 3 starts with multiple accounts of the Great Reawakening from different people's social media sites, videos, things like that. There are many different perspectives, people having different opinions on what's causing this, what's going on, and they actually include these bits at the end of each chapter as well from here on out. So we start the chapter this way, and then we end the chapters this way. Then we switch to the view of Noah and Anderson Cooper. Noah leaves his house, like we said, finding chaos just running rampant throughout the streets. Cars are hitting each other, crashing into people. Strangers are attacking, eating, and having sex with each other. Like, it could not be any more chaotic than this. Unsure of what else to do, Noah travels to Asher's house, hoping that Asher's family is okay. Inside, he finds little Marcus hunkered down in the food pantry with his tablet, alone, watching a video called Baby Ghost, which is a parody of Baby Shark. And he's watching this Baby Ghost video on repeat. Marcus is not outwardly scared, but he is very stuck to himself in his shell, like he hasn't talked to anybody for a while. And that worries Noah. The house is horrible. It's a mess, just like his parents' house. Everything is in disarray. He doesn't know where anyone else is. Obviously, he knows that Asher is probably dead or with the police or whatever, but he doesn't know where Devin is. He doesn't know where Caleb is. But soon he does discover Devin. Like everybody else, she's now fully brainwashed or possessed, whatever word you want to call it. Like, they have people using different words for it throughout the book. We don't really know what's going on. And in a violent brawl between the two, Noah ends up very much struggling to, but eventually killing her with a pizza cutter, which I think is actually kind of a badass way to kill somebody, I can't lie. Sounds excessively difficult, but rewarding. After killing Devin with the pizza cutter, he takes Marcus and gets in his car and tries to get the fuck out of there and head back home to his wife and kid. Unfortunately, their car crashes, and they're stuck traveling on foot. And of course, Marcus plays Baby Ghost on repeat all the while. Eventually, they find a survivor group and join them. When the group reaches Washington, D.C., they witness the most messed up sexual part problem. They witness a mass orgy all throughout D.C., all throughout the monuments and shit, like the Lincoln Monument, the Washington Monument, the White House lawn, all of it is crawling with weird zombie people, possessed zombie people, having an orgy. Do you see why I question why this might be fetish content? Do you see why I think that may have been unnecessary to the plot? Just a little bit? Like, just a little bit unnecessary? Why? Why? Why, Clay McLeod Chapman? Why? Why, Clay McLeod Chapman? Why would you do this to me? And this orgy, like all the other sex scenes, involves cannibalism. Of course, why wouldn't it? The survival group, is then caught gawking at this spectacle, because of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? I'd probably be gawking at it too. Because of this, they're noticed and attacked. Of course, Noah and Marcus do survive, and the rest are presumed dead. Just after this, Marcus's tablet dies, sending him into a fit, which jeopardizes their safety. After this, they have to move on. They go into this public bathroom, and unbeknownst to Noah, an infected stranger gives Marcus a tablet. Why he let the small child in the bathroom alone during this fucking apocalypse is beyond me. That's probably the most unrealistic part in the entire book for me. That took me out of the immersion. Dummy, dude. I can't believe that. So now he has a fully charged, fully functional tablet. Great. I wonder what he's going to listen to. Of course, he uses it to quietly listen to Baby Ghost on repeat until he's noticed by Noah. It is at this point, finally, that Noah realizes that Marcus is also infected. Convinced now that demonic possession is the source of this, he tries to coax the demon out of Marcus using a pig at the advice that he found online. Why you'd trust anything online after this is also beyond me, but whatever. Presumably failing to save Marcus, Noah also succumbs to the madness of the Great Reawakening. With his nephew in tow, who seems to no longer trust him, he's standoffish, he finally completes his journey, makes it home to his family by Christmas. His daughter then greets him at the door, and the book ends just before he strangles her. So I left some scenes out. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of graphic stuff in there. I could go on and on and on about that, and I'm just not going to. If you want all that, you can read it yourself. I'm sure I told you enough for you to get the gist of why I wasn't ready for that. I was absolutely not ready for the contents of that book. No fucking way was I ready for that. Is it the most extreme book in the world? No. I already know there are going to be the super extreme horror fanatics, and this will not be extreme enough for you. And that's not my point. My point is just that this is floating around on Libby like some thriller. And here I am getting all this weird-ass gore, all this weird-ass spicy stuff. They ate a dog, too. I forgot to mention that. A dog gets eaten. I'm sorry. I forgot to jot that in my notes. But a dog does get eaten. That's a whole thing. This book just blew my mind so much that I knew I had to share it with the internet and therefore the world. If you want to read this book, check it out on Libby. That's where I found it, the Libby app. Or you could try your local library, wherever you can find it, I hope that Wake Up and Open Your Eyes makes you just as uncomfortable as it made me. With that said, I'm Dia Ghoul, and I hope you had a spooky time. Like and subscribe if you want.